everyone, I'm Logan Anderson, a senior on women's soccer, and today I'm joined by Nick Sherod, a 2022 graduate from the men's basketball team. So I'm just going to be asking him a few questions, getting to know him a little bit more, and seeing what he's up to. So Nick, could you give us a quick update to your life and tell us about your time at Richmond, basketball, school, anything around campus, what you were involved in?
Yeah, so like you said, I graduated 2020 undergrad and finished up my master's in 2022, got my master's in teaching, and then pretty much right away went to start teaching at my high school alma mater, St. Christopher School. So right now I'm teaching high school English. I do some coaching as well, work with the publications team. I actually am one of the faculty heads of the debate team actually, which is pretty crazy. So yeah, just doing a little bit of everything, try to have my hands in all part of community life at school.
Okay, that's cool. What grade are you teaching?
Mostly ninth grade.
Ninth grade?
Yes.
Okay, and how's that going?
It's good.
Good?
They're funny. It's a funny group. Ninth grade's a funny age, so
Yeah.
it's just a lot. It's an adventure every day for sure.
It's like a transition year because they're all just fresh out of, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so could you tell us a little bit about your studies at Richmond and how you kind of got to being in a position now to be a ninth grade teacher?
Yeah, so I majored in English and I got my minor in rhetoric and communication. So when I got to school, I actually wanted to be a journalist. So I took a bunch of journalism classes when I got here. But kind of fell in love with the English department. I took some classes in summer school, and then my freshman year took a little bit more classes. So kind of really developed a passion for the literature, and I really enjoyed some of my professors and all that kind of stuff. So decided to stick with it. And then because I started taking my English classes kind of early, I decided rhetoric and communication was also a good place to divide up some of my time as well. So that was really cool. That was such a cool experience for me, being able to do a little bit of both. And then, so because of the COVID year, and then I had some injuries in school, I got a couple extra years of college, so I decided to pursue my master's in teaching. I feel like I was impacted by a lot of really strong teachers and professors growing up, and I thought if I had a chance to, pay that forward, while also getting a chance to still study English and study literature, it would be a pretty good pathway for me. So, yeah, right out of undergrad, started classes right away, and then finished, like I said, last December. So, it's been a little bit of a whirlwind since then.
Okay. Wow, that was a lot.
Yeah.
Well, a little birdie told me that during your time at Richmond in the English department, you were kind of recognized for voicing your opinions on social justice issues. Could you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I think that even as a kid, my parents tried to make me super aware of just what was going on in the world. They tried to make sure that you're a well-rounded basketball player because, as you know, as an athlete, your time as an athlete ends pretty quickly and it ends right away. I know for me, like when you get to college, you think you're going to play forever, and then I can remember my first day and I can remember my last day here. So it goes by super quickly. So I think it was super important for me to be super well-rounded and to make sure you're aware of stuff that's going on campus. And then at the time, there were some racial issues going on campus, so we just had a chance to speak up about it. There was a protest in one of our games, and as a basketball player on campus, you kind of have a pedestal on some ways where it feels like the eyes of the campus are on you. So anytime that I get a chance to speak up on something that I feel is important, that I feel like I have something that's beneficial to add to the conversation, I try to do so. And it was cool to be rewarded for it, but that's not really why you do it. So, but yeah, it was a cool experience.
Well, okay, so how do you kind of translate what you've learned at Richmond to your classroom right now?
Yeah, I think one thing that's super important is that kids feel welcome in your classroom, kids feel welcome in your environment, no matter who they are, no matter what race they are, sexual orientation, all that kind of stuff. I think it's super important that people feel made welcome. And I think for me, one of the most important experiences for me at Richmond was in the English department. I think I was the only basketball player or football player that was that was majoring in English at the time. So you were kind of by yourself, and the professors made me feel really welcomed. I felt when I started taking the classes, I was kind of unsure that I was supposed to be in the classroom. I was supposed to, pursue this. And the professors made me feel welcome. They made me feel like I was a part of the department. They made me feel like I was part of the class environment. And so, as you move forward and as a teacher, you try to do those kind of things with your students as well. Like we talked about, ninth grade, it's such a transitional year for a lot of kids, and they're trying to find their place in life and in school in general. So, learning from the professors that taught me and the teachers that taught me and they made me feel welcome, you try to do that in your classroom, and hopefully students connect with you in that way.
No, I appreciate you saying that because I feel like kind of the theme of this interview series is about speaking with people who've been breaking barriers, and you did that here, and I feel like St. Chris to U of R, like both private schools,
Right.
and wealthier part of Richmond. It's awesome that you have a position teaching there too, because that's another barrier that you're teaching, and I just know, or that you're breaking, and I feel like you're gonna have students that will look up to you in different ways, like students of color and Black men in particular, and they're gonna be like, oh my gosh, like Mr. Sherod is
Right.
doing it, I can do it too. So that's really awesome.
Yep.
So we talked a little bit about your current teaching career. How long have you been teaching again?
My
Second year. Breaking barriers, you're at St. Chris, coming from U of R. So how does it feel to be kind of in the position you are right now as a minority teacher, and the relationships you're building with other teachers and with your students in particular?
Yeah, I think one, just in general, as a black man, it's important that people see that you can do a little bit more than what maybe they pigeonhole you as. I mean, like black people have a variety of interests, they have a variety of talents, and all that kind of stuff. And coming from a background in athletics, I think sometimes when you go into a classroom, you feel like you have to prove that you are able to do what everybody else is doing on campus, and you're able to teach as well as the other teachers who they didn't watch play growing up and all that kind of stuff. So I think one is super important to represent yourself and your community in some level. I think that sometimes you put a lot of pressure on yourself as a black person to kind of live up to standards, but one, like it's just important to just be a good person in general and to represent yourself well. And I think once you do that, then you speak well to the people around you. And I think, like I said, it's important for students to see that, like you were talking about earlier, they can do it, that they can achieve it. And even athletes, like like I said, you come to college and you think you're gonna be playing sports forever, but that stuff ends, and it's important for them to see, you don't have to go to the business school, you don't have to do this. You can create a passive teacher. You can do whatever you want to do. You can get into media. You can do so many different things that you can do as a black person. And I think that for me, it's just important that I continue to try to shine a light on my profession, and that people of color, that we can do so many different types of really cool things.
Thank you. That was a good answer. Okay, so then just to pivot back to student athletes at U of R and then minority student athletes, I feel like within athletics, we kind of make up our black population on campus. And also just with our school in general, it's kind of like you kind of find your spaces.
For sure.
And so I feel like a lot of my time is spent within athletics and with my
Absolutely.
team and other athletes. And I'm not sure if that was
definitely.
similar for you. So what do you think that the university and our athletics department could do to better support minority student athletes?
I think first, I think it's super important that when you come to a campus, a prime white campus as a black student athlete, I think you kind of get trapped into your own little bubble as an athlete. So I think first, as athletes, we need to do a better job in general of just integrating ourselves with different parts of campus. Like you said, you come to campus in the summer to get ready for your sport, and then you're only hanging out with your team, and you kind of are only hanging out with other athletes. And we're in a position as athletes where we're able to kind of avoid some of the other stuff that maybe other people on campus have to deal with because of our stature as athletes. And I think that as students, so that's one of the things that I kind of regret about my time at campus, that I didn't really learn until late. And I'm sure a lot of other people have similar experiences where you're, like I said, you're so engulfed in being an athlete that you kind of forget that there's other people on campus. You run out of the tunnel on the Robins Center, it feels like you're the only 15 it's just you and 14 other people, and those are the only people on campus. But there's the people that are cheering you on, the students that come to the game, the alumni, they're also part of the campus. And I think integrating ourselves with other black students, making an effort to go to their meetings, go to hang out with them when they're doing stuff is super important for us as athletes. So I think that has to be a big emphasis that we have to make as black student athletes, that we have to make sure that we're still being a part of the community as a whole. I think as a department, I think one, just continue to amplify black voices, continuing to make sure that we feel like that we're supported in all areas of life, not just athletics. Like I said, I think the school does a good job of making us feel strong as athletes, but I think, like I was talking about earlier, there's so many other things that black people can do. I think the more that the athletics department and the school in general does to promote that, hey, this is a super important part of your life in terms of athletics, but going to class is important, being a part of clubs is important, making sure that you're, have your hand in all different aspects and carry your life. And I think, the more that the athletic department can, have those opportunities for students, and the more that we're aware of those, I think it can be great for the campus as a whole.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like the opportunities are definitely like the opportunities to travel and go to conferences like the Black Student Athlete Summit, and even the Costa Rica trip that we just went on, and a bunch of students just went to Greece. So having those opportunities and advisors like Courtney and people like Jalen and RD, just you can look at them and be like, we get each other on a different level.
Absolutely.
Is super important, and it's awesome to know that you're kind of doing that now. You are doing that now with your ninth graders.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nick, thanks so much. Appreciate you taking the time to chat with me, and I hope you have a great rest of your school year.
Absolutely.